Good afternoon from VIT University in India. I am Farzaneh Haratian, an associate professor teaching at VIT this year. Last 4 years I was teaching in China, and now I am very much privileged to be here. And this recording is going to be a part of the series of talk that is programmed by Eurasia organization, and here now I need to extend my sincere gratitude to my colleague, my dear colleague, Professor Lopez Varela in Spain. She has been trying hard in order to build a bridge among different scholars across the globe. The whole talk is under the title of sustainability, sustainable development, and it's related to culture. I'm from Iran, and I think you already know the situation that women in Iran, Iranian women are confronting, are facing the hardships, the problems that they have. I'm sure that you have read the news about the demonstrations going on in Iran regarding women's rights and lack of freedom. By freedom, I mean they are not allowed to choose what to wear. They have to, by have to, I mean there is a must to wear a scarf, and their hair should be covered. Otherwise, they are detained, and they are even considered as criminal. Many young girls, I'm sure you have read in the news, they were killed, they were blinded, they were dismembered. So what do we mean by sustainability here? In whatever reason, if the reason is religion, if the reason is culture, tradition, whatsoever, we need to know that women are human beings. Western women struggled a lot, and after many years, they earned the right to choose what they want to do. But still, in some countries like Iran, women are struggling for the very basic rights of what to wear. And if it is in the name of a religion, I'm a Muslim, and I am proud to be a Muslim. And I am a Muslim not by force, but by choice. But the Islam that I practice is very much different from what they ask me or what they demand me to follow. The Islam that I know by Prophet Muhammad, our Prophet, is all about friendship, is about peace, about giving and forgiving. It's all about thinking about your own problems instead of spying over other people, what they're doing, what they're wearing. So it's about reflection inside on your own mistakes, faults, and problems in order to improve yourself. And it's all about love and peace. So I don't know where really they find the hostility and enmity, or how they interpret. Everyone interprets the text and the discourses according to their own benefits and profits. And this is the way that it goes in Iran. But surely, after a lot of ignorance and darkness and a lot of killings, tyranny, oppression, and women victimization, comes some light, some enlightenment, some awareness. And if women, if only Iranian women, take each other's hands, and if men, good men from Iran, patient men, I mean with that kind of attitude, understanding, protective of women, if we all take each other's hands and rise, who is there to stand against us? When something is sensible, is rational, logical, when it makes sense, people would accept, people would approve that, yes, this makes sense. But the situation now has caused a lot of women, as the reports and studies and research show, has shown that the women in Iran have been rated in terms of life satisfaction, mental well-being, mental health. They have been rated much lower than other countries. It's because they don't have the right to choose. Imagine me as somebody who has been educated, somebody who has been in the realm of education, somebody who is a teacher, somebody who goes to the classroom and teach. So I am not allowed, I don't have the right to go abroad unless a man, whether my father, my husband, or my brother, sign the consent letter, and then I am allowed to for example, to travel outside. Otherwise, as a woman, you're not allowed to. So as you see, ancient Persia was so great in terms of civilization. And it's really so preposterous to see the situation now that women are not allowed, for example, to travel unless there is a man who is there to sign the consent letter. It's about freedom. Some women want to have hijab, we call it hijab, or they want to cover it. They can do it. We all respect them. Go ahead. And some people won't like to do it. What is the force? He or she is somebody like me, educated. She is a doctor. She is an engineer. She is working. She is a mother to her children. She decides not to wear the scarf. So why are you pushing? And why do you detain people? Why do you arrest them? A lot of young girls were killed when they were on their way to school with their bags, pens, pencils, and notebooks. So it is something that the world cannot be blind to. And I am a poet. I use the language of poetry in order to express myself. So let me not talk anymore, but tell you the situation in my poems. Our book, Soul Seeking Transcendence, it is a collection of poems written by me and my daughter, Diana Kamyabizadeh. She's a talented high school student. Together we published this book 2 months ago in January 2024 in India, and I'm going to read some of the poems. The language of poetry helps and facilitates the expression of feelings, attitudes, beliefs, and ideas, and the trauma. So that's why my focus in research is basically these days on positive psychology and poetry therapy. I am trying to show that the language of poetry can help people in terms of the mental health improvement, and happiness and well-being. So I am going to read you some of the poems, and then you would learn about the sustainability in Iran and the situation. This is very proud because it is the motherland of very great popular poets of all times, Hafiz and Saadi. And I'm also going to read a poem about Aram Garden. Through this description, you would understand how beautiful, I mean, marvelously amazing is Shiraz. And who knows, maybe in future when the situation gets better, which it will definitely happen, hopefully soon, you would travel to Iran, and you and me as sisters without a scarf start dancing and singing in the very beautiful gardens of Shiraz. Later I'm going to read to you a poem about Aram Garden, and between the lines, through the diction and through the metonymy, metaphors, the personification, the different aesthetic devices and figurative language, you would learn about Shiraz better, I mean, through the descriptions of the poetry and the memories hidden between the lines. In this poem, the title is Namaste to Nirvana. I am going to read to you a poem that is showing the effectiveness of poetry in helping people, in improving mental health and well-being. Comes with the poetry a breeze, a release. Positive poet clutches tools that appease. Surgical blades, scissors, the pain is at her seas. The poet embrocates emollient on the wounds and the cuts deep as valleys. She heals the pain with her facilities, amenities. She tries many health theories. Poetry puts the soul at ease with her artistic armors and fancies. Metaphor, metonymy, synonymy, rhythm, meter, rhyme, off-rhyme, half-rhyme, slant, hyperbole, allegory, apostrophe, imagery, symbol, simile, irony, cacophony, euphony, consonants, assonance, figures of speech, oxymoron, as it reads. Ignorance is a strength, war is peace. Persistent pastiche, perspicacious is Miss Poetry. Does the therapy all by herself in ease, as she quells the quivers, warms the freeze. Light to her pen she shall release. She is such a poet with positive shields. Nebulous nemesis is at ease. Namaste to Nirvana. Namaste to Nirvana as poetry frees the soul by her magic keys. December 5th, 2023. The profound prominence of poetry in today's world of war, Ukraine and Russia, Gaza and Israel, so it's a war around the globe, the violence, the aggression. When after the COVID time, after what we all went through with COVID and the hardship that time, in the post-COVID time, that you and I should take each other's hand and be friends with each other, and we try to help each other to overcome the difficulties, overcome the hardships, overcome the obstacles and problems. This is the situation. Poetry comes to help. Thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity to be here today and to read some of the poems and talk about the very importance of the poetry in therapy, in education, and in wellness. Have a good day. So now, after reading some of the poems about my hometown Shiraz in Iran and about the situation of women in Iran and how strong they are, but definitely sun would shine again in Iran, and then we can have prosperity, we can have freedom of thoughts, we can have the rights to travel without any consent letter, the signature from any man, and free enough to choose what you want to wear, whether you want to cover your hair or not. And definitely sun is going to shine brightly again in Persia, and I am positive about it. Many thanks again goes to my dear colleague Professor Lopez Varela for her unwavering dedication in educational growth and enlightenment. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Now I'm going to read a poem from the book Soul Seeking Transcendence. The title is Soul Needs a Surgeon. So here I want to show how poetry can help people suffering from different disorders. Crumbling, tumbling turmoil in the soul, causing nocturnal numbness in the body shore, triggering a fall, failure, a hole. PTSD, ADHD, CD, AD, DD, ASD, AAD, GAD, RAD, LAD, SSD, DID, OCD, IED, BED, phobia, agoraphobia, claustrophobia, anorexia, bulimia, nervosa, pica, mania, hypermania, kleptomania, pyromania, trichotillomania, depression, delirium, delusions, insomnia, parasomnia, hypersomnia, paranoid, schizoid, obsessive, bipolar, borderline, dependent, avoidant, histrionic, narcissistic, schizotypal, antisocial. A long list of disorders and more comes with a confusion, collapse, crash, clash, and soar. Mental maladies, chaos in soul, rush to harm, to hurt, to cause your death. It is a lure. Soul needs a surgeon for pathologies. The body is breathing, mind is in gore. Condition is getting worse. Soul is diseased by some foul force. Poor mind and soul, off with regulators, off with ERS and so, is condemned to carry distress, unrelieved stress, morbid mourns, a freighted cargo of thoughts so coarse, of sores, dreary chores. December 7th, 2023. This one I wrote it when I was going for a lecture on poetry therapy. So as you see in the beginning, soul needs a surgeon. We're talking about mental well-being, need of a surgeon for the soul. And I believe that poetry can do the job perfectly well. In this series of talk organized by Eurasia Foundation, which is basically focusing on the concept of sustainability, sustainable development, and culture. I'm going to talk about Iranian culture, basically women and what's happening to women in Iran, and the way they are using the language of poetry. Poetry as the exalted form of literature can come and can be used as a medium, as a device for women in Iran under depression, under oppression, and victimization, marginalization, to express themselves. So through poetry, which is, I mean, you can use a lot of devices, aesthetic devices, figurative language, figures of speech, in order to express, in order to pour out, in order to know what is going on inside your mind, and about the emotions, about the fury, anger, and also about the depression and grief, whatever you're suffering or experiencing, the traumas. So poetry is a medium, and in the previous videos that I recorded and I sent to my dear colleague, Professor Lopez Varela in Spain, she's a dear member of Eurasia Foundation, and I need to thank her for her collaboration, her serious dedication in helping people and scholars from around the globe to come and talk about sustainability and their culture from the different parts. And today I'm going to talk about Iranian culture and the importance, the profound prominence of poetry in treatment, in therapies. At least for the women in Iran, it can be a medium to express themselves. Let's go to the second slide. It's about sustainability, and from Britannica I found something about sustainable development. It can happen, as you see here, in three different categories of healthy environment, vibrant economy, and equitable society. So the different dimensions could be environmental, economical, and social. In this lecture, I'm basically focusing on the social, the sociocultural aspect of sustainability. It's a kind of approach dealing with social planning that attempts to foster social growth while preserving the quality of balance and peace for future generations. So it's like a long-term viability of movement. Sometimes you wonder, would that last? Or, for example, this movement, this recent movement in Iran, does it sustain itself? Can it sustain itself? And it's about the social actions, words, voices, measurements that can continue for long and then reach some fruits, reach some feasible consequences and results. Um, this is the different categories, and the focus here is on social aspect, as I just mentioned. Iranian women, veiled in mystery yet fiercely vibrant in spirit, resist the inequalities and fight for their rights. They identify and resist the societal, sociocultural formulations targeting to marginalize and manipulate women. So they're using poems and the power of poetry, the power of language, the power of the pen in writing. Is, you cannot deny it. Their poems tell tales, reflecting resilience and defiance in the face of adversity. Each step they take is a symphony of grace, a symphony of strength, autonomy, agency. This is something that they have been deprived of, they have been denied of, and They are taking this strength toward self-expression and liberation. They are the, we can say they are the phoenixes rising from the banned voices, the silence, the silence voices, a verification of the indomitable. By indomitable, I mean brave, bold, fearless forces, wills, and spirits of womanhood. Is that true? Do you think that poetry is the music of the soul? Can soul be touched? Soul is not tangible, but through the language of poetry, when you are using um, when you're using the different devices like metonymy, metaphor, rhythm, rhyme, personification, you are trying to get like to be connected with the unconscious, and the emotions, the feelings that you are expressing, they are genuine, they are sincere, they are authentic, they're coming from within. And by unconscious, I mean the soul even. So through the language of poetry, you can listen to the music of the soul. If the soul is broken, if the soul is hurt, is damaged, is the or sometimes you can see the soul is shattered. So you can be a surgeon again through the language of poetry. And what is poetry? I'm going to read two definitions by two great people, by Plato. Plato says, I mean, this is the way he defines poetry. Poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. Very insightful sentence, isn't it? And Robert Frost, poetry is when an emotion has found its thought and the thought has found its words. Here we're talking about the importance of poetry. In poems, people learn empathy, genuineness, authenticity, credibility, congruity, and harmony in the course of self-exploration and expression. Looking into your poetic creation, you find out about the pro-social goals. So you cannot be indifferent to the poverty, to the corruption. You cannot be indifferent to the oppression. And then the empathy is mirrored, then you can say, and the mind scripts and schema, the frames of reference and interpretation, and the yardstick, they are all out. You can see the yardstick you were dimly aware of. And here in the previous slide, okay, I go to the next. Iranian women poets persistently. So as I said, poetry is a big part of Iranian culture. You cannot consider, if you're talking about Iranian culture, you cannot ignore the important and significance of literature and poetry. I mean, we're talking about that form of literature in Iranian culture. Iranian women poets persistently use their feminine voices to promote change, correction, and justice. They express their resentment of women's marginalization, the victimization, and they stand against women's oppression and exploitation. Their poetry facilitates the path to self-discovery, self-recognition, self-acknowledgement, self-confirmation, empowerment. This is what they need: empowerment and growth, and growth. Despite the numerous sociocultural challenges, they transgress sociocultural boundaries through their verses. And poetry as protest. So if you're talking about the culture in Iran and about women, and if you're talking about sustainability and how a movement, how a voice, how a poem can be sustained through ages and can reach the ultimate goal it's seeking as protest, It is obvious in the poems of Parvin Ehtesami, Forough Farrokhzad, Simin Behbahani, and many other great women poets as they wrote largely about Iranian women. Poetry acts as a healer, a voice that transcends time. They have faced decades of systematic oppression. They've been restricted in what they were, what they say, and how they express themselves. Um, as you say, we have Simin Behbahani on the right and Forough Farrokhzad on the left, and we have popular Parvin Ehtesami in the bottom. Poets with unique voices. They have defied patriarchal structures and drawn back the curtains and woven their words into the fabric of Persian literary heritage. Their verses echo resilience and the fearless spirit of women who refuse to be silenced. This is a poem I wrote. The title is Sustainability by Iranian Women. I wrote it on International Women's Day, March 8th. And I read it. I recited and recorded it, and I sent to my colleague, Dr. Varela, and she said that she's going to integrate all these videos, so I don't need to read it again. In the bustling streets of Iran, echoes of rebellion reverberate through the air during demonstrations. I think you have heard about the demonstrations going on in Iran. Crowds flow like rivers of silk adorned with flags of hope. Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan, Sistan, Kurdistan, and all other cities from Caspian Sea in the north to ever Persian Gulf. They all become a canvas painted with the vibrant colors of voices raised in unison, in solidarity, integrity, in unity, demanding change. What they demand is change, freedom of talk, freedom of expression. Metaphors representing the resilience of the human spirit against the harsh winds of oppression. A unique dance unfolds where the rhythm of protest beats in harmony with the heartbeat of a nation yearning to break free from the chains of silence. The streets become a stage where the actors are ordinary citizens turned fearless warriors, each step a declaration of defiance against the tyranny. I asked my students to give me their ideas to write about what they think. What they think of the situation and the word. The wording, the diction that they use, even the I'm talking about the lexicosyntactic structures in the language of simple poetry they wrote that were really nice. So I try to use some of them here. And Moza here, as you see, he is a great theorist in terms of poetry therapy. We have a great journal in poetry therapy. When poetry is coming to heal, when poetry is coming to treat, to be used as an approach, as a therapeutic model, method, and approach in helping people with, in the course of mental well-being, mental health. But poetry can be used in three different modes. It can be used in the first mode, it's receptive and prescriptive mode. When you read poetry, when you find some positive, popular, great, insightful, full of wisdom and insights from great poets, and then you start reading. So it's like prescriptive, it's just receiving. The second mode is expressive and creative. You start writing. You take the pen and the notebook and you start writing what, the lines, the thoughts, the beliefs, the emotions, feelings, whatever you have, whatever you're experiencing. So it's the creative mode. And the last mode is symbolic and ceremonial mode, when you are performing and reciting it. As you see, this is the good point about poetry, connecting. thoughts, ideas, connecting with other people. So there is this connection and attachment, and transferring and engaging, feeling, exploring, discovering. In poems, people learn empathy, which is a very important life skill, genuineness, authenticity, credibility, congruity, and harmony in the course of self-exploration and expression. Looking into your poetic creation, you find out about the pro-social goals, the empathy that is mirrored, the mind scripts and schema, the frames of reference and interpretation, and also the yardsticks. This is the book. This is the cover of the book. The title is Soul Seeking Transcendence. I remember I read one or two poems in the recording from this book. It's a collection of poems by me and my daughter, as you see in the photo. She is a high school student, Diana Kamyabizadeh, and I just wanted to tell her that she can write her feelings, her thoughts, her emotions, um, her traumas, whatever she is happy with, whatever she is sad with, whatever she feels angry about. So this writing can help her a lot. And that's why I'm just emphasizing again on the role of poetry, which is a very essential component of Iranian culture, literature, and poetry, which can help and come to rescue and save women at this time of very much hardship and ordeals that they are experiencing. They're under too much pressure, and I want them. I'm just here to tell my sisters in Iran to start writing. I know it is not enough, it's not sufficient for that heavy burden, but at some levels it can be really helpful for the mental health. Every image or word in a poem is a verbalized thought. So if you see one word, there is a story behind and beyond each word in the poem, and the edges and hidden impulses are surfaced then later when you write it and analyze for and socially approvable, acceptable behavior. So the ego is set free to accomplish some meaningful goals. That's it. Poetry is all about association, linkages between thoughts, among thoughts, behaviors, feelings, words, concepts in a very thoughtful way. In poetry, and individual emotions and attitudes toward the events around her. So that's what I was talking about when I was talking the poetry and literature and the culture of Iran, especially now, and regarding the situation of women. I'm talking about the way individual can reflect the emotions and attitudes towards some certain episodes of life and what is happening around her. If she cannot be that loud, if she is sentenced to death or jailed, maimed, dismembered, blinded, then through poetry she can release and then pour these emotions out. The transference as a vehicle for the reenactment of conflicts and the unresolved feelings of anger. I'm stressing on the emotions of anger and grief, which is very much pervading in Iran at this time. Okay, we go next. Yes, songs of woman, life, freedom reverberate through Iranian streets. It confronts the state policies unveiling gender inequality and political control. That's it. That's the situation, and it's very much painful to see and to hear the news and to experience them. And now I'm going to talk about Shiraz. I told you that Shiraz is very proud. My hometown is very proud because it's the home of two very great I mean, very great poets, Hafiz and Sadi, and it is known for the poetry. The great classical poets like Hafiz and Sadi, they lived in Shiraz. They were inspired by the beauties of gardens and the climate in Shiraz. Poetry serving as a vehicle of cultural introspection, political dissent, and personal protest. It remains a vibrant medium for Iranian culture. And then we have here, as I said earlier, Parveen Tesami, Farhad, and Simin Behbahani, and many other writers at the moment that they were jailed or went into exile. And these are some pictures from my hometown just to let you know about the culture, because Dr. Valera asked me to show through pictures what I mean by Shiraz, my hometown. And this is some pictures. I mean, the first one is the picture at night. I mean, the picture in Shiraz, it was taken in Shiraz, and the other one is a historical place, and on the right is a library. I think this library, yes, it is the National Library in Tehran when I went with my daughter. And these are the different beautiful, marvelous, very much peaceful places in Shiraz. The second picture on the left you can see is Shah Cheragh, and it's a holy place, and I have a lot of good memories. I'm a Muslim, but as I told you, not the Muslim that they demand me to be. They force me to be. I really don't like that, and I would defy that. And yeah, so these are some beautiful pictures from Iran, and this is the Persepolis, the historical place. And yes. I just wanted to share with you some photos in order to see, I mean, like Iranian women in Iran. The photo of me and my friend. As you see on the left, we were reading our holy book, and it is in the holy place. The one on the right, it's me and my friend in the beautiful gardens of actually north of Iran. So it's just a picture of Iran, the north, and that's me and my daughter, and that's me and my parents' family is a very important part of Iranian culture, and for Shirazi people who belong to Shiraz and all the whole Iran. And this is the photo of me and my parents. And the other one is my friend and I, we were traveling, and just wanted to share with you that this is the situation for women. They can travel, but as you see, I don't have my scarf, but my friend tried to have it, and it's really good. People respect each other. Don't want to have a job, fine. I want to have it, fine. So we don't. Um, uh, we try to respect whatever the choices are. And the photo on the left, as you see, very delicious drinks from Shiraz. When sometimes they have the mixture of different, we call it araq kasni, araq shatare, and bahar naranj, for example. Different combinations could be together. I don't know exactly what combinations should be, but very delicious and tasty. And hopefully one day you travel to my hometown Shiraz, to Iran. All parts of Iran is fantastic, and you travel to Shiraz to visit the historical and poetical places, and you drink and taste it. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity um, to be contributing to this program by Eurasia Foundation. Have a nice day. Now I am going to read some poems from the book Soul Seeking Transcendence. It is a collection of poems written by me and my daughter, Diana Kamiabizadeh, who is a very talented high school student. I hope that you understand about the situation of women and about the sustainable development in the culture of Iran through the language of poetry. Poetry is the heightened form of literature, and it allows us to express our feelings, our beliefs, and our attitudes. The words are coming from the unconscious, and they are linked with the with the beauty of music, with the rhyme and rhythm, and it also springs and rises from the genuine unconscious. And so poetry is genuine. It cannot be made through words. You should be inspired in order to write. I studied my second master and PhD in general psychology, and in counseling sessions, mostly I'm using poetry therapy, and many thanks to Dr. Mozo and the researchers who developed the idea of poetry therapy, where poetry can be used as a therapeutic approach for the therapy, for the treatment, for the improvement of mental health and well-being. What Seligman said about learned helplessness, that you reach to the stage that you understand the more you try, the less you achieve, and then you stop trying. And when you stop trying, you cease to breathe, you cease to be, and we have to be very careful about that. Today is March 8th, International Women's Day, and I was inspired to write something to prove my solidarity with the women of Iran, with the women of the precious Persian land, that barely you can find any trace of that highly exalted civilization. But definitely there would be some light, definitely there would be some hope, and definitely there would be some changes. No darkness would last for a long time. I wrote it today, so I'm going to read it to you. I hope you like it. A dagger into my feminine soul is the title. You and your guards, souls sold to Satan in varying forms, roles, and retarded made norms, in the name of religion, tradition, culture, or so. A metatext you were so stupid to grasp, so greedy to let light slides on its other lines. You hanged to what fitted you and forgot to read the next pages and the rest. You tapped those 3 lines to abuse, manipulate, and exploit. Women of all walks and roles, mothers, sisters, daughters, and wives, from ages before to years after. You may have the authority, the insanity, to pass rubbish gibberish around, to send the guards souls sold to Satan, to blind us, to dismember, to stab, to slap, to crack us. Ferociously forceful gods, the souls sold to Satan, in boots, muscles, ragged garments, arrested us and our feminine body of soft silk. They saw our hair, our braids, the buns, the bangs, the ponytails. They brought the handcuffs, the chains, the jails in the scary Gashte Ershad van, the one in the nightmares. I had my books with me, my pens and pencils. You saw my hair, my braid, the buns, the bangs, the ponytails. My pretty hair was seen. I had no scarf. Unforgivable crime, enough to be sentenced to death, to be convicted, to be found guilty of a major crime. I had my books with me, my pens, my pencils. I was going to school that day when they detained me. They yelled, she didn't wear a scarf. I was then a criminal, a prisoner, an offender, an outlaw, a dagger into my feminine soul. I couldn't bear it, too heavy for the mind and soul. My breaths stopped, all at once. My existence ceased to be any longer. I died. I died that very day, but many rose. Many girls with pretty braids, buns, bangs, and ponytails. They drew my pretty hair, the ones I used to have on the walls in Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan, Kurdistan, Lorestan, Sistan. They are calling my name from the north Caspian Sea to the south ever Persian Gulf. From many corners of ancient Persia, land of Cyrus the Great. Safe I am now in the hands of my dearest God. I wear no scarf here. I feel breeze in my hair, and I am watching and waiting from above to see my classmates' pretty hair, the braids, the buns, the bangs, and the ponytails. This is the poem I wrote on March 8th, the International Women's Day. Very genuine, very sincere, from within. As the theme of Eurasia organization, a series of talk basically focusing on the concept of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and the topic is on sustainability. I wrote this poem on International Women's Day about Iranian women, and the title is Sustainability by Iranian Women. Let's see what it is. I hope you like it. Sustainability occurs when I decide to rise from where you rigged me, from the grave, the burial place, from the jail jammed with young girls. Our hair glows in the sun rays, wavy, curly, straight, blonde, black, brown, gray, swaying with Mr. Zephyr. I'm a woman. I'm a woman, the one who breeds you to be a man. You were sightless, eyeless, blind. To see my roots are carved deep in the land where my blood is nourished with. You can't maim or strangle me. I don't end. I don't cease. I resume in many seeds. I grow as tall as Persian pines. When love in Shiraz shines, my soul spreads, extends, expands. It reaches far-fetched souls. It unites with many other souls and becomes one massive soul. I am the volcano in Mount Damavand. Beware, beware of the lava when it bends and bursts, the fire from fury. If only this fire, the one contained in us, Iranian women, rises, it catches your fouls, frauds, scams, and vulgar schemes. If only my sister, with my mothers and daughters, rises in solidarity, unity, integrity with each soul fiber, each strand of hair, your disgusting, despotic dreams collapse. Radical, tyrannical, totalitarian blasts. I know how to breathe. I know how to breathe. I know how to shield, how to build. I know how to dance on the rope you hanged me with. You never know what women know, what women can. You can't chop us, cut us, kill us. You simply can't. From every cut limb springs a sprout, blossoms, bloom in booms. Then you see sustainability is sustained.